Hello and welcome to the Jesus Christ, I forgot the name of the show again.
I love the
All right.
Don't you dare tone it down.
Energy. All right. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the Rank and Report football show from Washington, D.C. to London, England. I am your host, Adam Booker, and I'm joined, as I always am, by Mr. Charlie Gordon. How you doing, Charlie?
I'm fantastic after that intro, mate. You're bringing the energy today. You're in a great mood, it seems like. But yeah, I'm all right. You know, I'd be better if I could get a haircut. I found out today hairdressers are closed for another 6 weeks in the UK. Oof. So you know it's sad times. I went and asked my housemate in there about half an hour ago whether he could cut my hair this week. So you know, could be coming with a fresh new look for next week's episode.
Do you trust him enough, or is it just a shot in the dark?
Oh, it's a total shot in the dark. Total shot in the dark. You know, I've been driven to that point, but you know, this length is not what it's all about.
Yeah.
This is not the move.
Yeah, you need that fresh cut. Yeah, well, I've had 2, I think, since the pandemic started. Which the first one, I went like 8 or 9 months without it. It was horrible. But luckily, well, not luckily, there are no rules in America, so all the shops and hairdressers are open.
Mate, the no rules gives and the no rules takes away.
Yeah,
but, you know,
absolutely.
I could use a haircut right now.
Absolutely. All right. I am happy to be back with a brand new edition of the European Power Rankings. But before we get into those rankings, just want to encourage everybody to hit the subscribe button down below if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we release a new video. And we have got a mystery kit winner. I believe his name was KR. I just left a comment for him back on our last European Power Rankings video. So KR, go check out the comment I left for you. I'm trying to get in contact with you and we can discuss how to get you your mystery kit giveaway. So thank you to everybody who participated. We will probably be doing another one again in the near future, so keep an eye out for that. And one more piece of business we have to wrap up is the weekly Riddle. If you have not seen our club rebuild of Liverpool last week's video, hit the card in the top right corner right now. You can go watch that video. But on that video, we started a new weekly segment where I am going to ask a Who Am I riddle every week. The answer to last week's riddle was Davinson Sanchez. I believe one person got it right and left a comment with their answer. So congrats to Kieran, who left the correct response on the comment of that video. But today's weekly riddle, and if you're new to this, I'm just going to say a little riddle that is describing some football player out there in European football, and you've got to tell me who it is. So this one stumped Charlie earlier. It took him 2 guesses to get it. So here it is. Speed, power, and finesse. Those attributes are mine. So much so, some have compared me to R9. All right. I will leave a written version of the riddle down in the description below in case you can't remember what I said. If you know the answer to the riddle, leave a comment down below and I will get back to everybody who got it correct. All right, Charlie, should we move on to some European Power Rankings?
Yeah, we should. Let's hope we get more than one response to the riddle this week. I mean, 3 would be nice. 3 would be nice. We're aiming low, guys, so 3 responses would be absolutely fantastic. But yes, let's get down to business, and we're going to get straight to our communal rankings and number 10. And the accolade of number 10, the bottom of the list this week, falls to Brendan Rodgers' Leicester City, who even this deep into the season now, 24-25 games, they're still in 3rd in the Premier League. They were kind of this high up last season as well, and they fell away and didn't get into the Champions League spots, but they're looking much more solid this season. I'd actually go as far as to say Leicester have been one of the most consistent performers in the Premier League this season. Some teams have been all over the place, the likes of Liverpool, the likes of Man City. They've been up and down. You don't know what you're going to get from week to week, but Leicester always seem to deliver. Last couple of weeks, you've got a 3-1 win at home to Liverpool, which isn't as impressive as it used to be, but still very good win. And a 2-1 win away at Aston Villa, which is also very good. So, Adam, 2 wins in their last two games there. Would you agree with what I said about Leicester being maybe the most consistent performers in England this season?
Yeah, absolutely. They've been really consistent. And I think one thing that's really the big difference between last year and this year, obviously they were, up there in second or third for most of the season last year, but I think we kind of always felt like that tail off would eventually come, and it did after the coronavirus break, which granted can be an excuse maybe for some teams. That was such a disruption to the season. But this year, I'm not really expecting a fall off. It's just these victories over bigger teams and pretty easily dispatching the teams they're supposed to beat is expected. I think it's worth mentioning that it doesn't feel like this is just Jamie Vardy's team anymore. He's on 12 goals, but coming up behind him is Harvey Barnes with 9, who's been a big bright spot for the team this season. James Maddison with 8, and he's got 5 assists of his own as well. So there's other players stepping up. It's not just Vardy.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my very next point. So I'm impressed that you got straight onto that. Just that trio is really formidable for Leicester. They've got other players that are contributing as well. They're really solid all over the team, really. Even Tielemans in the middle, Schmeichel in goal. Their fullbacks are always really good. But yeah, I think one thing to note for Leicester this season is Vardy's got extremely strong backup, and James Maddison and Harvey Barnes really are coming as a trio these days. So yeah, Leicester performing really well positioned in the league, in really good form at the moment. So yeah, they're in 10th place. Absolutely.
All right, moving on to number 9. We have got Juventus, who were previously ranked up in 4th. So after a little rough patch of games, they've dropped all the way down to 9th. Their recent results were a 3-0 win against Crotone, and then a tough 2-1 loss to Porto, and another really tough, hard-fought game, 1-0 loss against Napoli. Look, they finally slowed down a little after a long run of really red-hot form. That Napoli game was really hard-fought, and we know that Napoli, on their day, can be really, really good. They haven't had many of their days this season, but when they want to, they can be really, really good. But look, Juve just didn't show up against Porto. They were just completely lifeless, and Porto weren't even that great on the day, but Juventus just really had nothing to bring to the table. I know Crotone is not the highest quality of opposition, but it was a really good response, that 3-0 win yesterday. Ronaldo's got 24 goals in 25 games this season, which is just unreal for a guy who's in his mid-30s. But look, I think Juventus will probably be able to shake this little rough spell off. They're only, after their games in hand, could be only a few points out of second. I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I felt like they've still got a big role to play in this title race. It looks like Inter may be running away with that, but I think Juve could be ready to vacuum up second place.
They've 100% got a big role to play in this title race. And they're doing it in a way that they've not done in previous years. So Juve have lifted the Scudetto every single year since 2011. And because they've been so dominant, they tend to just lead from the front. It's never really a debate, apart from a couple of years here and there where Napoli looked really strong. But it's never really been a debate whether Juve were gonna kind of run away with the league or not. Now they're flying under the radar. At times earlier on in the season, they were well off the pace. Now it kind of seems like they may well be, I don't want to use the word peaking because their form in the last couple of weeks hasn't actually been all that, but in the grand scheme of things, they seem to be peaking potentially at the right time. And if anyone is going to challenge Inter Milan, it's a big if. I don't think anyone is going to beat Inter Milan to the title, but if anyone is, you'd think it would be Juve. And, with all these things considered, it makes it all the more surprising that they were beaten by Porto in the week, really. That was a result that really surprised me after City kind of dominated them 3-1 at the Etihad, went back in the Champions League groups. But, yeah, so a rocky couple of weeks for Juve all in all, I reckon, Adam.
Yeah, I think the one place you've got to be a little bit worried if you're a Juventus fan is if anything happens to Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't really know where the goals are coming from. He's got 24 goals, and the next closest is Morata with 5. So that's got to be a bit of a worry. But as long as he's there and he's banging in the goals, then they're obviously going to be an absolute force. So yeah, Juventus in at number 9.
Yeah, Juve at 9, and then up to 8, a team who were unlucky to not be in this list last week, but when you really look at it, their form is incredible. Sevilla, they're up to 4th in La Liga at the moment. Their last 2 results, in the league at least, were a 3-0 win at home to Getafe and a 1-0 win at home to Huesca. First of all, Adam, I must check the result against Osasuna. Do you happen to know what that was yesterday?
Yes, they won that 2-0.
Okay, 2-0. So that perfectly leads on to my point then, which is they have now won 5 league wins in a row without conceding a single goal. And then I've got in brackets, if they hold on against Osasuna, which I'm delighted to announce that they have done. So Sevilla, they're just not letting in goals at the moment. And we're on top of their league form. They beat Barcelona 2-0 in the Cup. But obviously they did have that well-publicised loss to Dortmund in the week. They got Haalanded. Can happen to the best of us. But on the whole, their league form's been really good. And on the whole, they've looked extremely solid, which makes it kind of all the more surprising, Adam, that they got undone by Dortmund in the week.
Yeah, I mean, it was surprising, but like you said, if Dortmund turn it on, then they can sometimes be unplayable with the likes of Haaland and Sancho and, Julian Brandt. So I think that can be forgiven. But look, I think Sevilla is a team that is just so underrated in the grand scheme of things right now in European football. This is a team that's won 17 of their last 20 games in all competitions. That's an unreal streak to be on. I genuinely think they're one of the toughest teams to play against in Europe. Look, I mean, Lopetegui sets them up so well. They're really solid. They've got goal scoring all around the pitch. Yusuf En-Nesyri's on 13 goals. And not to mention, Charlie, a player we absolutely love, Papu Gomez, just snuck into the Sevilla squad in January. And it wasn't really talked about, but he's on the pitch week in, week out for them now. So they're a really dangerous team, and they're a really solid team as well.
Yeah, they've got the big man En-Nesyri up front, who's got tons of goals this season, like you said. And Papu Gomez basically only adds to that little horde of creators that they've got around En-Nesyri. No one is really close to En-Nesyri in terms of goals, but they've got a lot of people who can set him up, right? They've got the likes of Munir, Suso, who scored against Dortmund, and then Papu Gomez, obviously, we're a massive fan of. He's kind of in the prime, or maybe even just a tad bit past his prime, but he's really firing at the moment, Papu Gomez. So it's a team with a lot of the elements that you would want to see, and they're working in quite a predictable way. They've got the big man up top who's banging the goals in, lots of creators behind him who are doing their job as well. So yeah, all credit to Sevilla, really. Lopetegui seems to have set them up in a very effective system.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, Sevilla in at number 8, and I think maybe last time out they were a little bit unlucky to get in there, but they definitely deserve to be in there now. But moving on to number 7, we have got Real Madrid, who were previously not ranked, but their recent results were a 1-0 win against Valladolid, 2-0 win against Valencia, and a 2-0 win against Getafe. Look, it's not really been pretty this season, but they're just hanging around in second place. They've won 4 straight in La Liga. They've won 5 of their last 6. The issue with me right now with Madrid, I've said this all year long. I think they're just one of those teams that with their experience, and especially with Zidane at the helm, that they're always in the game. No matter what, they're always in the game. And when they need somebody to pop up with a moment of individual brilliance, it's usually Karim Benzema. I think he's only the real goal threat right now. He's got 12. The next highest is Casemiro from a defensive mid position with 5. But look, their experience and their ability to grind out results will keep them in every game they play. So, and look, with Atleti slipping right now, there may just be a little, hint of a title race going on in La Liga. But I think just on recent form, Real Madrid have to be in at number 7.
Yeah, it would just make you sick, wouldn't it? I've got nothing really against Madrid, but it would make me a bit sick to see Madrid sneak up from behind and win the league in this way, because they've flown so under the radar this whole season, and somehow just kept themselves in touching distance. And they've got almost entirely Karim Benzema to thank for that. They're badly in need of other contributors. I think they were very much injury hit against Valladolid the other day, and they had pretty much a bare bones squad. The only notable player they had on the bench was Isco, and they had Vazquez playing right back, Mariano playing up front. And I'm wondering about Mariano, really. He's quite a raw talent, but if we're talking about backup for Benzema, or kind of support in terms of putting the goals away, which Real Madrid so badly need in the grand scheme of things, then Mariano did actually look quite good. He put the ball in the net twice. Both times they were ruled out for offside, but his striking instincts look good. And I think Madrid just reeks of a stale team to me at the moment. I'm kind of slamming them, even though they're here 7th best team in Europe at the moment. But it's just kind of a mystery to me how they're doing it. Because I couldn't tell you. It just looks like a stale team to me, Adam. But yeah, by some kind of black magic, mysterious force, they're still hanging about in La Liga. They're putting together a lot of wins. They've only conceded 1 goal in the last 4 league games. And yeah, they're just putting in performances, Adam.
You know what, though? This is kind of seems like the norm with Zidane's Real Madrid. Now, you think back to the 3 Champions Leagues that they won in a row, and a lot of those knockout games along the way to victory were games that they won against the run of play. They're the kind of team that just, they hang around, and then they take their opportunity to pounce. And like I said, I think so much of that is just their experience. You look at just the serial winners that they have in this squad, like Sergio Ramos, Dani Carvajal, Karim Benzema, Casemiro, Luka Modric. These are guys that have gone to Champions League finals, World Cup finals, European Championship finals. I mean, the squad just reeks of success, and I think that is really their strong point. A lot of these guys are past their prime and aren't in the best moments of their career, but when you put all of that together, it's just a team that they just hang around. So, look, I'm impressed by them just because I don't find them to be that much of a talented team, but they're always there and thereabouts.
Yeah, that it is impressive in its own kind of weird way, but they do just have that class to see it over the line. I think they'd be slightly worried that they had to score their 1 goal in the 1-0 against Valladolid from a set piece against the 19th place team in La Liga, but like we say, they've got the class and the experience to see it over the line, so they're putting enough results together. Madrid, 2nd in La Liga, 7th in this list. And we move up to number 6, which is Eintracht Frankfurt. A team we've bigged up in the last couple of weeks, and they've actually come good on our promise, for once. Look, we're just used to talking up teams. I'll be watching European football with my friends here. I'll be saying, look, me and Adam know a thing or two, all right? These lot they're gonna do something pretty special here. Like I did with Leipzig against Liverpool the other day. What happened? They got beaten 2-0.
The amount I bigged up Real Sociedad going into that clash with United was hurtful.
Yeah, it happens on quite a regular basis for us, but don't be put off, guys. We do know what we're talking about to an extent. So Frankfurt, they've just kept winning. They're up to 4th now in the Bundesliga. They're really mingling with the big boys. In recent weeks, they've posted a 2-0 win at home to Cologne and a 2-1 win at home to the mighty Bayern Munich. So that tells you a lot of stories there for not an especially deep squad. But they pulled out a really, really good win against Bayern. There was a stunning goal from Amin Younes. When you talk about putting it in the top bins, this was in the bottom of the top bin. He literally put it in the bin. It was quite incredible. And the other goal from Kamada was very well worked as well. So they're establishing themselves as quite a solid attacking force, Frankfurt. They've been really good to watch, and they're kind of coming out with the results as well, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we saw what they're all about in that game against Bayern. They have this combination, this wonderful combination where they can be brutal and a physical, classic German side, but at the same time they can play silky football. Some of their counterattacks are just so good to watch. The attacking combination of Andres Silva, who's on 18 goals, out on the wing at wing back, you've got Filip Kostic, who's got 8 assists. He may just be the most talented player in this team, and then all of a sudden Luka Jovic is back in, and you've got one of the most lethal attacks in German football, maybe in European football at the moment. Andre Silva is only behind Lewandowski in goals, but it's a guy that, no one's really heard of until recently because of what he's doing at Frankfurt. Yeah, it's a really impressive side, and I'm glad to have a team like this up near our top 5.
Definitely, and they deserve it, really, because I think the one gripe we had with them a couple of weeks ago was defensively they were shipping a lot of goals, but they were scoring a lot going the other way. But I think they did really well to restrict Bayern to just 1 goal at the weekend. And the goal that they did concede was down to really great work, just individual brilliance from Leroy Sané. And, we know better than most how fantastic and undefendable Sané can be. Bayern put on 22 shots towards Frankfurt's goal, and they restricted them to one goal, which was due to that kind of individual brilliance. So they seem to have shored it up at the back as well. The only thing I would say is Andre Silva needs a bit of support in terms of goals. Bas Dost is the closest to him on 4. Andre Silva's up there on 18. So, in the long term, that might be something they'd look to fix. But yeah, I'm with you, Adam. I'm happy that they're kind of flying and they're getting recognition for it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on to number 5. We have got Atletico Madrid, who've slid back 2 places from their previous ranking of number 3. And that's because of a recent 2-0 loss to Levante, and then weirdly enough, only a few days before that, they played Levante in the league as well, and they only drew 1-1. And then they had a 2-1 win versus Granada before that. But look, I think this is really the first real rough patch all season. They've conceded a goal in 7 straight games for the first time ever under Diego Simeone, which is kind of unbelievable when we've been talking about just how incredible their defensive record is this season. There was a point in the season where they had played like 20 games and conceded like a total of 6 goals, which is unreal. But they've conceded goals in 7 straight games, and that has never happened before under Simeone. It's worth mentioning they've been really riddled with injuries lately. They had a big coronavirus outbreak in the squad. And they've suffered for it because you've got, Marcus Llorente, who's one of the best inside attacking midfielders in Spanish football right now. They've got him playing at right back and right wing back. That's just not his natural position. So when you start moving guys around like that, then the squad is going to suffer. Suarez is still leading the league in goals, but I think the questions maybe need to be raised about the system that Simeone is playing at the moment. I don't think 3 at the back is working for them right now. This is something they've switched to in order to get Luis Suarez and Joao Felix into the game a bit more. But I think just with the squad being riddled with injuries right now, maybe Simeone should have kind of reverted back to Simeone ball and just keep every game really, really tight. But they haven't really changed their system much, and they're conceding goals because of it.
Yeah, I think that might be what we'll see from now on, because they really need to weather the storm now. They were away and clear. I'm sure some fans were already celebrating the league because they were so far clear, but they've only won 1 of their last 4 games in the league. And to say 2 games against Levante, who are 8th in La Liga, to say earlier in the season that they would only get 1 point from those 2 games would just be inconceivable, really. So their lead at the top of the league is cut to just 3 points now with 1 game in hand. So, the old heads like Madrid and Barcelona do actually come into play, really, against all the odds. So I'm with you, Adam. I think some more conservative tactics might come into play because they've got a lead to preserve. And it's time to scrap it out, really. I can't believe it's got to this for Atletico, but I do think a bit of context needs to be added for the Levante game. I think 2-0 kind of flatters Levante a little bit. Atletico did put a lot of pressure on. The first Levante goal took a big deflection, maybe even 2 deflections. It was a great heroic performance from the Levante keeper Cardenas, and then they were 1-0 up. Atletico were throwing everything at them, and then the guy scored from the halfway line whilst Oblak was coming up for the corner in the last minute. So 2-0 doesn't tell the entire story. I'm sure it's a storm that Atletico can weather, but this is on paper, when you just look at the results, it's kind of it's a spell that you really didn't see coming for Atletico this season.
Yeah. Just by the way, Charlie, on Levante, I know that mid to lower table Spanish football isn't necessarily your cup of tea, but Levante have actually taken, in like 4 games against Real Madrid, Atleti, and Barca, they've taken like 9 points this season, which is pretty incredible. They're one of those teams that just like notoriously is a giant killer in Spanish football. But with that being said, you would expect Atleti to at least get 4 points over 2 games against them. But yeah, like you said, I think maybe time, especially with a depleted squad, to just revert back to what we know how to do best, and that is just sit in, be solid, don't concede. They're playing a Champions League game in exactly 1 hour right now against Chelsea, so maybe that's the kind of tactics we'll see in that, but only time will tell.
Yeah, Yeah, I can forgive them for slipping up to the giant killers then, I suppose. But we'll move on to number 4, and that is our old favourites, RB Leipzig, who got spanked 2-0 by an out-of-form Liverpool in the week. Again, after I told everyone that they were going to win. But hey-ho, in the Bundesliga, they're still flying. They're still winning tons of games. They're second. Not far off Bayern Munich either. I'm pretty sure. Wait, I can find out exactly how. Hang on, how far behind are they? 2 points.
I've got it written down. I just wanted to watch you find it.
I scrolled up too far. I panicked for a second. Look, everybody, they're 2 points behind Bayern Munich now, so which really makes it a close run thing in the league. There was a 2-1 win for Leipzig at home to Augsburg a couple of weeks ago, and then a 3-0 win away at Hertha Berlin. You know, we've said they're in this top 10 most weeks, Leipzig. We're big fans of them. We've said a lot of the things that need to be said, but I would love to draw attention to Marcel Sabitzer's goal in the Hertha Berlin game, which was an absolute peach. Oh my word. What a peach. I'm sure you've seen it, Adam. In my notes here, I've got Sabitzer and then all capitals. Absolute screamer. Just one of the best goals I've seen this season. Yeah, did you see it?
Yeah, I did. I watched that whole game. Yeah, he's a real player. I think he's being linked now with a couple of English sides, and well deserved to have that link as well because he's a brilliant player. But yeah, I mean, look, it's the same old from Leipzig. They grind out results. They're so good tactically. You know, Julian Nagelsmann just sets his teams up so well. There's not superstars anywhere on the pitch for this team. There's none. You know, now that Timo Werner is gone, especially, it's just a team of solid, good players, and tactically they're just so well, and they play so well. And look, we've said all they need to do is just staying in touching distance of Bayern and wait for Bayern to slip up, and they have, and you know, all of a sudden we've got a title race on in Germany.
Yeah, a title race against all the odds, really, because you know when things are happening in Germany, like Leipzig selling their best defender to their title rivals Bayern Munich, it's a wonder that we get a title race at all. But yeah, I'm sad to see Upamecano go at the end of the season, I believe, to Bayern. So that's one thing I would note with Leipzig. Another thing is, we say it all the time, but having so few goal scorers is just so unsustainable for them. It's incredible that they've got to this point in the season and been so successful, with Angelino still leading on 7. And then the chasing pack is Sabitzer, Forsberg, Poulsen and Nkunku, all on 5. And I'm pretty sure this is in all competitions as well, which makes it even more mental. So that's something that you know ultimately is not sustainable. But more credit to Nagelsmann that he's managed to get a tune out of a team that effectively can't put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it'll be interesting to see how that title race shapes up. I think Leipzig play Bayern Munich in about 4.5 weeks' time, and if the table's still looking like this at that time, then that's going to be an absolute all-time classic in German football. So only time will tell. But moving on to number 3 is Leipzig's title rivals in Bayern Munich. They were previously ranked number 2, so they've moved back one spot. That's because they've had a couple of shaky results recently. You know, they had the 2-1 loss against Frankfurt at the weekend, which we mentioned before. And then they had a 3-3 draw against Arminia Bielefeld, which was a crazy game, by the way. They were 2-0 down at halftime, but that first half, the pitch was covered in snow. And then they seemingly cranked the heat up on the turf at halftime. And when we came back out for the second half, the snow was completely gone. It was really weird. I was tweeting at halftime, like, why didn't they just turn these heaters on like 45 minutes earlier than they had decided to? And we wouldn't have had like a shit show of a first half. But look, Bielefeld played that game really well, and we've said all year that Bayern have cracks in the back, and they play this high line, and it can be exposed, especially if any defenders switch off. You know, Frankfurt took the game to them, and they played balls in behind, and it caused Bayern a ton of problems. I still think they're going to win the title, but form like this is going to make it a lot tighter than they would want it to be.
Definitely. I was going to say the exact same thing about Frankfurt. I think it was really interesting to see how they just open them up again and again. They've been really defensively inconsistent all season. They've gone through spells where they've barely conceded goals, and they're in a spell at the moment where they're just shipping tons of goals. They're Their league form has been dreadful, like you said, the draw against Bielefeld, the loss against Frankfurt, but they're still high up in this list because they were actually crowned Club World Cup champions this week. Not that anyone really cares, but, someone's got to make a note of it. So, Bayern, they're still a formidable team. Let's not kid anyone. If we were putting them less than third in this league, we'd be kind of taking the piss, really, because everyone knows Bayern are a great team. You've got a player like Lewandowski, still the best in the world at this point. He's up to 31 in all competitions. I absolutely can't wait to see what number that ends up on at the end of the season. So yeah, a rocky patch for Bayern. I feel like I'm saying that for a few teams that are in this list this week, but rocky patch, I'm sure they'll come through it. They definitely need to find some momentum again going into a big few weeks in the Bundesliga title race and in the Champions League as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go. They've got Lazio in the Champions League today, and Lazio are a team that are red hot, and they play a very similar style to Frankfurt. They've got Ciro Immobile and, Luis Alberto, who are guys that, if they want to, they will absolutely rip this Bayern defense to shreds. So it should be a pretty interesting game. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game, and I can't wait to watch the Atletico Chelsea snooze fest instead because I'm a stubborn Englishman, and that's what me and my 3 housemates are going to put on the TV. But anyway, we move on to number 2, and that is Inter Milan. This is the highest they've been all season, and I think it's thoroughly deserved now. Serie A, since the last time we spoke to you, has just been completely flipped on its head. Inter are now leading. They're 4 points clear. Actually, I think they are 4 points clear.
Yep.
As it stands, although Juve have got another game in hand, I'm pretty sure. Last couple of games, 2 really, really big wins here. Really big wins. You got a 3-1 win at home to Lazio, followed by a 3-0 win away at AC. Well, I say away, they share the stadium. Look, they played AC Milan and they won 3-0. And Romelu Lukaku just seems to get better and better and better. The guy, his pace and power, I'm sure that AC Milan defenders are still just having nightmares about Lukaku running them ragged. He even whipped in a lovely cross for Martinez's header. And, his goal where he kind of burst through and then lashed it into the near post, that is as good as it gets. As a striker, that's absolutely as good as it gets. So Lukaku's in red-hot form. Conte's got Inter singing a merry tune. And I can't see Inter turning back from this point. I think this will be their first Serie A title for quite a while, Adam.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, they were brilliant in the derby against Milan. And look, something pretty interesting I was thinking during that derby was, I don't know if you remember this, Charlie, earlier in the season, I was absolutely slating Inter for basically being a team that just bottled it in the big games. You think back to some dreadful performances in the Champions League against Real Madrid, against Mönchengladbach, and they were, awful at times at the beginning of the season. And that seems to just be completely flipped on its head. I don't know if it's, confidence or what exactly changed, but, in their recent games, they played Lazio, who were, like I mentioned before, who were on fire at the moment, probably were over, the 3 or 4 weeks were the best team in Italian football. And, they beat them 3-1. And then they had the big 3-0 win in the derby. So all of a sudden, they're a big game team. And if they can start beating all of the teams that they're supposed to beat, like they are now, for a while they weren't, then they could just run away with this title, in my opinion. Because, I was listening to Ranks FC, which is the old Bleacher Report podcast, and they were talking about Inter. They're basically saying, being 1-0 down is genuinely being 1-0 down to Inter is genuinely the most dangerous position in football right now. Because if Inter want to sit in a little bit and they just want to let Lukaku and Martinez and Hakimi loose on the counterattack, there's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's credit to Conte, really, who's proven himself as just one of the best managers in the world. He seems to succeed wherever he goes. And Inter are really just kind of blossoming now. They've started the season fairly well. They're getting better and better. They've only conceded 1 goal in their last 6 league games. Handanovic was and that 1 goal was against Lazio, which you can forgive them for. Handanovic was absolutely heroic versus Milan, made some top-class saves. So it all seems to be coming to a head for Inter, Adam, and I expect a big end to the season for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth mentioning that, because they came bottom of the Champions League group, that they have a full week in between games right now, which is a big help when you're coming up against teams who've got midweek European clashes or cup ties, whatever it is. And I think if you give Antonio Conte a week to prepare for a game and you give Lukaku and Martinez a week off to rest their legs, then they're one of the best teams in the world at the moment. So Inter are rightfully in at number 2. And moving on to our number 1 team, I think this is now 3 episodes in a row that they have been in at number 1, and that is Manchester City, who just keep on rolling. They just keep on winning. The recent results were a 1-0 win against Arsenal, 3-1 win at Goodison Park against Everton, and then a 3-0 thrashing of Tottenham. They're 10 points clear at the top. The win streak is now 18 wins in a row. That's a record in English football. 25 unbeaten. They've got 15 clean sheets, Charlie, already at this point in the season. They had 17 total last year, and that won Ederson the Golden Glove. I mean, we're looking at them finishing with like 25 clean sheets in 38 games if they, stay on this trajectory, which is scary numbers.
It really is, and what you want us to do, guys? We're both City fans, but we've won 18 games in a row. So number 1 is the only place we can put Man City at the moment, and it's kind of lucky, really, because we talk about them every single week that they're at number 1. But I've got a new player to focus on because there's a lot of players to be impressed with in this team at the moment. And each week we talk about them, it's like, right, who can I talk about this week? I've got to say, we beat Arsenal very comfortably, even though it was a 1-0 win. I did think, it was a little bit dicey in the second half, but we were cruising, basically. And the guys that really impressed me during that game were Ruben Diaz and John Stones. We've been singing the praises of Ilkay Gundogan, Phil Foden in previous weeks, but I thought Diaz and Stones just looked an absolute class apart. The way they were toying with Arsenal, just kind of playing neat little pattern passes around the back, I was absolutely loving it. And this great play really presents a problem for Pep Guardiola, I think, because we've got Aguero back on the bench now. But what do we do with him? What do we do with him now? This is our guy. This is our record goal scorer, our leading striker for so many years. But we've found this new system, which is just working so well. I don't think Aguero can get back in the team, Adam, even if he is fully fit.
Well, it's interesting because in the build-up to that Arsenal game, Mikel Arteta had actually mentioned, I think it was in his press conference, that this is what Pep has wanted all along, and that was to play without a striker. Like this is not because of injuries. This is because this is Manchester City in its final form under Pep Guardiola, and that's playing with, if you truly look at that squad that lined up against Arsenal, you've got Joao Cancelo at right back, plays in midfield, basically. John Stones, who has played as a holding midfielder for Pep Guardiola a number of times. You've got Zinchenko at left back, who's a central attacking midfielder for the Ukrainian national team. And then you've got a forward line of Sterling, and then De Bruyne comes in as a false 9, Gundogan comes in as a false 9, and then Mahrez on the wing, and then, a holding midfielder of either Rodri or Fernandinho. It's literally, and then with the technical ability of Ederson at the back, he's basically another midfielder as well. It's literally just a team of technical midfielders. It's unreal.
100%. It's like we've reached 10th prestige Guardiola at this stage. And no one really saw. I certainly didn't see it coming either. I kind of saw this tactical switch as just coping with injuries, because we did, when Aguero got injured, we tried Jesus up there and it didn't work. So this wasn't even a plan B for Guardiola. This was just trying something different to stop the rot, and it's worked so well. All these technicians in the team, a lot of the defensive burden does fall on your Rodris or Fernandinhos and your Diaz and Stones at the back. But they're just coping with it so unbelievably well, and they're all making a name for themselves this season. I think Rodri's improved massively. I think John Stones is obviously having the season of his life, and Diaz may be the signing of the season. So, it's all rosy in the blue half of Manchester at the moment.
Absolutely. All right, we will wrap it up there. Just for our audio listeners, I will run through our 1 to 10, just because you got no visual. In at number 10, we've got Leicester City, 9, Juventus, 8, Sevilla, 7, Real Madrid, number 6, Eintracht Frankfurt, 5, Atletico Madrid, 4, RB Leipzig, 3, Bayern Munich, 2, Inter Milan, and then in at number 1, Manchester City. All right, we will wrap it up there. Before we get out of here, I just want to reiterate for everyone that hasn't hit the subscribe button, go ahead, hit it now, hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified whenever we release a new video. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, leave us a rating, leave us a review, tell your mom, tell your dad, pass the show on. That is the best way to, get our words out there. All right, Charlie, any last words for the people?
Congrats to our mystery shirt winner, and I hope everybody enjoys the wonderful Champions League football this week, and I will see you soon.
Yes, and make sure you answer the riddle in the description down below. If you didn't hear my riddle at the beginning, it is written right at the top of the description. Make sure you answer it. At some point, I'll figure out some sort of consistent prize I can give out to people who get it right, since we've got low numbers right now. But get your answers in. All right, we will see you next week.